Your Right to be Rich by Napoleon Hill. Introduction. What if I told you that wealth is not some distant dream reserved for the lucky or the elite, but a birthright that belongs to you? Yes, you. Right now. You weren't meant to live in struggle. You weren't designed for scarcity. Deep inside you is the seed of greatness, planted by a creator who wants you to live in abundance, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. In this video, we're diving into the bold and timeless truths shared by the legendary Napoleon Hill in Your Right to be Rich. This isn't just another talk about making money. This is about unlocking your true power, the power that has built empires, transformed lives, and lifted ordinary people into extraordinary success. You're about to discover the secrets that self-made millionaires have lived by for decades. You'll learn how your mindset is the foundation of wealth, and why the old idea that poverty is somehow virtuous is not just wrong, it's dangerous. Poverty robs potential, dulls dreams, and limits your ability to serve others. But when you begin to see money as a tool for growth, for giving, and for freedom, you unlock a life of purpose and possibility. This journey starts with a shift in perspective. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who thinks, feels, and acts like a magnet for abundance. Hill's message is clear. Riches begin in the mind, and it is your responsibility to cultivate a mind that welcomes them. If you've ever felt stuck financially, like no matter how hard you work, you just can't seem to break through, then this message is for you. Because the truth is, money flows to those who are ready for it, those who expect it, believe they deserve it, and are willing to think differently to earn it. You'll learn how to build that kind of mindset, the kind that doesn't just hope for success, but expects it. You'll understand why financial freedom isn't just possible for you, but essential. You'll uncover how to eliminate guilt, fear, and doubt around money, and replace them with faith, clarity, and action. And most importantly, you'll begin to reclaim the wealth that was always meant to be yours. This is more than financial advice. It's a personal revolution. When you understand that you are meant to be rich, everything changes. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only believe it, you'll feel it in your bones. Let's begin unlocking your right to be rich. Section 1. The moral right to be rich. What comes to your mind when you hear the word rich? Is it a lavish mansion, expensive cars, greedy tycoons counting their money behind closed doors? If so, you're not alone. For generations, we've been subtly, and sometimes overtly, conditioned to associate wealth with selfishness, corruption, or arrogance. We're told that it's more noble to be humble and poor, that desiring riches is morally questionable, and that somehow poverty equals purity. But Napoleon Hill challenges this narrative right at its roots. In Your Right to be Rich, he proclaims a truth many are afraid to even whisper. Wealth is not just acceptable, it is moral. In fact, it is your divine right. This idea flips everything on its head. Hill doesn't merely argue that you're allowed to be rich. He says you should be rich. Why? Because when good people have money, they do great things. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money, when it becomes your god, is what leads to destruction. But money itself? It's neutral. It's a tool. And in the hands of a person with purpose, character, and vision, it becomes a force for good. Imagine a world where the most compassionate, driven, and thoughtful people were also the wealthiest. Wouldn't the world be a better place? Hill emphasizes that the Creator did not design humanity to suffer or scrape by. Look at nature. Abundance is everywhere. Trees don't grow one leaf. They bloom thousands. Oceans aren't small puddles. They stretch across the horizon. The stars above number in the billions. Scarcity is not divine. Abundance is. And just as the earth provides abundantly, you too were created with the capacity and the right to live richly, not just in spirit, but in your material world as well. To deny yourself that right is to ignore your divine potential. Yet, despite this truth, many people subconsciously sabotage their financial lives. They believe that wanting more makes them selfish. They fear judgment from others who still hold on to the money is bad mindset. So they shrink. They settle. They convince themselves that enough to get by is all they need. But deep down, they yearn for more, for freedom, impact, security, and legacy. And here's the good news. Wanting those things doesn't make you greedy. It makes you honest. It makes you human. One of the most transformative exercises you can do is to examine and replace the limiting beliefs you have about wealth. Start by asking yourself, what did I learn about money growing up? Maybe you heard phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are selfish. Maybe you saw your parents argue about finances, or were told that pursuing money meant selling your soul. These messages leave deep imprints, and if left unchallenged, they quietly guide your financial decisions, even when you're unaware of them. But just as these beliefs were learned, they can be unlearned. Napoleon Hill urges us to replace them with new affirmations, powerful truths that reflect the reality of abundance. Say to yourself, I have a right to be rich. Wealth is a tool for good. The more I earn, the more I can give. I attract prosperity through purpose, service, and faith. Repeat these not once, but daily. Let them take root in your mind, and over time, you'll begin to act in alignment with them. To illustrate this truth, let me share a story. A woman named Sarah grew up in a low-income neighborhood. Her family lived paycheck to paycheck, and the message she internalized was that money was always a struggle, and that wanting more was selfish. After high school, she worked as a waitress, then a receptionist, always earning just enough to survive. She dreamed of starting her own business, a wellness brand focused on helping women improve their mental health. But every time the thought came up, she shut it down. People like me don't build businesses, she thought. I don't need to be rich. I just need to pay my bills. But something shifted when she attended a local workshop based on Hill's teachings. For the first time, she heard someone say that wealth was her right, not just a remote possibility. That her dream, far from being selfish, could be the very thing that helps thousands of others live better lives. She went home and wrote her first affirmation. My business serves others and creates wealth for me and my community. She said it daily. She started small, launching free content online, then offering coaching. Within 3 years, Sarah was making 6 figures. But more importantly, she was funding scholarships, donating to mental health initiatives, and employing 5 people from her neighborhood. Sarah's wealth didn't make her selfish. It made her generous. It allowed her to live on purpose. Her transformation didn't begin with money. It began with a new belief, that she was worthy of wealth, that her mission mattered, that prosperity wasn't about greed, it was about service. And that's what Napoleon Hill wants you to understand. Wealth, when earned through value and purpose, is a moral force. It allows you to care for your family, give to causes you believe in, expand your influence, and live with joy and freedom. If you're struggling financially, it's not a sign that you're morally superior. It's a sign that something in your thinking needs to shift. So let me ask you, What beliefs about money have you been holding on to that may be keeping you poor? Do you secretly feel guilty for wanting more? Do you believe that staying small makes you humble? If so, challenge those ideas. Write them down. Replace them with affirmations of truth. Say, "It is good to be rich. It is good to live in abundance. I will use wealth as a tool for service and impact." Because when you accept that truth, when you internalize your moral right to be rich, you don't just change your finances. You change your identity. You stop shrinking and start expanding. You stop hiding and start creating. You no longer see wealth as something out there for others to achieve. You see it as your birthright, something you were meant to manifest so you can do the work you were meant to do in this world. And that is the foundation. Before strategy, before goals, before business plans and budgets, this is where true wealth begins. Not in your wallet, but in your heart and mind. Claim it, speak it, and live like the abundant, powerful, purpose-driven person you were always meant to be. Section 2. Wealth begins in the mind. Wealth doesn't start in your bank account. It doesn't start in your job, your investments, or your business. It starts in your mind. Before riches show up in the physical world, they must first be created in your thoughts. Napoleon Hill made this principle unmistakably clear. All riches, whether financial, emotional, or spiritual, begin as a state of mind. You have to think wealth before you can live it. This is not wishful thinking or empty optimism. It is the foundational truth behind every success story that's ever been written. You see, your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant there will grow, but it will grow based on the seeds you choose. Plant scarcity, fear, and doubt, and you'll reap limitation. But plant vision, belief, and abundance, and the results will echo those roots. Too many people chase money while thinking like they're broke. They want wealth, but expect struggle. They crave success, but secretly believe they're not good enough for it. That contradiction is what keeps them stuck. Because the truth is, no external wealth can last unless it first has a home in your mind. Hill insists that your thoughts are magnetic. What you dwell on, you attract. If your dominant thought is fear of bills, you'll find more of them. But if your dominant thought is the confidence that you are a creator of value, someone who draws opportunities and multiplies resources, then life begins to respond to that belief. This isn't magic, it's mindset. It's about programming your subconscious with a new default setting. I am a person who attracts, creates, and sustains wealth. When that becomes your inner truth, your outer world shifts to match it. Let's look at a real-life example of this principle in action, one that's become legendary. Before Jim Carrey was a household name, he was a struggling actor living in Los Angeles. Times were tough. He didn't have many roles, and success felt far away. But instead of surrendering to the limitations around him, he chose to create a new reality in his mind. In 1990, Jim wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered. He post-dated it for Thanksgiving 1995 and carried it in his wallet, visualizing his future as if it were already real. He didn't just hope for success. He saw it, felt it, believed it. Fast forward to 1994. Jim Carrey lands the lead role in Dumb and Dumber. His paycheck? Exactly $10 million. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you hear him talk about it, he makes one thing clear. The results came only after the belief was there. He acted like someone who already had that success, and the universe eventually caught up with his mindset. This practice of mental rehearsal, of seeing yourself already living in abundance, is not only powerful, it's necessary. Athletes do it. High performers in every field do it. They visualize winning long before they actually win. They rehearse their success mentally, emotionally, and spiritually until it becomes second nature. Why should building wealth be any different? If you want to change your financial reality, you must first change your financial identity. You have to stop seeing yourself as someone who's trying to make it and start seeing yourself as someone who already possesses the qualities of wealth. How does a wealthy person think? They think in terms of possibility. They see opportunity in crisis. They take calculated risks. They invest in themselves. They move with confidence, not fear. And the amazing thing is, you don't need to be wealthy to think this way. You just need to choose to. So how do you build this mindset? It starts with a simple, consistent daily habit: visualization. Every morning, take 5 to 10 minutes to sit quietly and see yourself living in your ideal financial reality. Picture the home you live in, the people you help, the freedom you experience, the business you've built, or the investments you've grown. Don't just see it. Feel it. Hear the sounds. Imagine the smells, the joy, the gratitude. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real experience and vividly imagined experience. It begins to build new neural pathways that support the image you give it. Do this for 30 days, every single day, not occasionally, not when you feel inspired, every single day. This isn't just a mental game, it's a reprogramming process. You are rewiring your mind to accept wealth as your normal. And when wealth becomes familiar in your inner world, it becomes much easier to manifest in your outer world. You can even take it a step further. Write down your vision. Create a detailed description of your ideal abundant life and read it aloud every day. Record it in your own voice and play it during your commute or while you work out. Immerse yourself in the frequency of abundance until you think it, speak it, and walk in it without hesitation. Let your actions flow from the mindset that you are already wealthy. Because the truth is, the greatest wealth you will ever possess is the belief that you deserve it. Now, you may be thinking, but what if I've been poor my whole life? What if I've never had wealth to visualize? That's okay. That's exactly why you must practice this. Your past does not define your future unless you allow it to. Most wealthy people didn't come from wealth, they built it. And they built it first in their minds. Don't let your current bank balance decide your potential. Let your vision guide your reality. Think of your mindset as the thermostat of your financial life. If you're set to struggle, then no matter how much money you make, you'll find ways to lose it or block more from coming in. But if you reset your inner thermostat to abundance, your thoughts, emotions, and actions will start to reflect that setting, and so will your results. You'll make different choices. You'll attract different people. You'll take risks you used to avoid. Why? Because you're no longer thinking like someone who's just surviving. You're thinking like someone who builds wealth. So here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, visualize yourself already living in abundance. Make it a ritual. Morning and night, close your eyes and see it. Feel it. Let it energize you. Let it become your new truth. And pay close attention to what changes. Maybe a new idea comes to you. Maybe an opportunity appears. Maybe you finally take action on something you've been afraid to try. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. Wealth doesn't begin with a lucky break. It doesn't come from some magical system. It begins with you, with your willingness to think differently, believe deeply, and act boldly. It begins with the decision to stop living from limitation and start living from vision. You have the power to create a new financial reality, and that power starts in the most valuable asset you already possess, your mind. So don't just dream of wealth. Think it, visualize it, live it, starting now. Because when you own it mentally, the world has no choice but to meet you at your new level. Wealth begins in the mind. And now, your mind is ready. Section 3. The Power of Definite Purpose. If there's one principle that separates those who merely wish for wealth from those who actually achieve it, it's this: clarity. Knowing exactly what you want. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose, and he believed it was the cornerstone of all success. Without it, even the most talented individuals drift through life without direction, chasing too many things and accomplishing very little. But with a clear, definite purpose, your energy becomes focused, your mind becomes disciplined, and your actions gain power. You begin to move with intention, and that kind of movement always attracts results. Think of a magnifying glass. When it's pointed at the sun without focus, nothing happens. But the moment you hold it still and align it with purpose, it can start a fire. The same applies to your life. If your goals are vague, like, "I want to be rich someday," or "I hope to succeed eventually," you'll scatter your energy across too many paths, constantly starting over, rarely making progress. But when your purpose is definite, when you know exactly what you're aiming for, you activate a deeper level of commitment. You create momentum that no obstacle can easily stop. Hill believed that every great achievement, every fortune, every legacy starts with a single clear purpose. Not a wish, not a dream, but a burning desire, forged into a concrete statement of intent. This purpose becomes your internal compass. It influences your decisions, sharpens your focus, and gives you something to wake up for when motivation runs dry. And perhaps most importantly, it speaks directly to your subconscious, guiding your behavior even when you're not aware of it. Let's bring this idea to life with a modern example: Elon Musk. Whether you admire him or not, there's no denying that Musk's journey is driven by a crystal-clear purpose: to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. That's it. That's the sentence that has fueled everything he's done with Tesla, Solar City, and even SpaceX. Musk doesn't wake up in the morning wondering what to do. He doesn't dabble in random side projects. Every decision he makes, every company he builds, is aligned with that single guiding mission. And because of that, he's created not just wealth, but global impact. Your definite purpose doesn't need to be world-changing at first. It just needs to be clear, compelling, and deeply meaningful to you. It could be as simple as build a business that gives me financial freedom and time with my family, or create a nonprofit that feeds 10,000 children a year. The scale doesn't matter, the clarity does. When you know your purpose, you stop being reactive and start being proactive. You don't chase trends, you create a path. You don't waste time, you invest it with intention. So, how do you uncover your definite purpose? It starts by asking yourself some deep questions. What do I truly want in life? What would I pursue even if I wasn't getting paid? What legacy do I want to leave? What kind of life would make me feel most alive and fulfilled? Take your time with this. Journal your thoughts. Talk them out. Then, distill your answers into one powerful affirmative sentence. For example, I am committed to becoming a successful investor, so I can fund educational opportunities for underprivileged youth. Or, my purpose is to build a wellness brand that helps millions of people heal and thrive. Once you've crafted your statement, write it down. Place it somewhere you'll see every day. your bathroom mirror, your phone wallpaper, your journal. Read it aloud every morning. Let it soak into your consciousness until it becomes your identity. This is not just a motivational exercise, it's strategic. Your mind will begin to filter information, attract people, and recognize opportunities that align with your purpose. You'll become more decisive, more courageous, and more productive, because everything you do will have a clear why behind it. Now, let's talk about what happens when you live without definite purpose. You drift, you work hard, but it feels like spinning wheels. You get pulled in different directions by people's opinions, temporary trends, or fear of missing out. You may even achieve small wins, but they lack fulfillment. Why? Because without purpose, success feels empty. Money without meaning becomes a trap. But when your actions are tied to a purpose that excites your soul, even the hard days feel worth it. Your struggles take on a sense of nobility. Your wins feel like progress, not just profit. This is exactly what Hill wanted us to understand. He saw that people with definite purpose didn't just succeed faster, they lived more fully. Their goals were not random, they were rooted. Their discipline didn't feel forced. It was natural, because it was aligned with something deeper. They weren't perfect, but they were committed. And commitment, when fueled by purpose, becomes unstoppable. So here's the challenge. Today, take some time to define your definite major purpose. Write it in one sentence. Make it personal, specific, and emotionally charged. Don't worry about making it perfect. Just make it clear. Then read it aloud every day for the next 30 days. Let it shape your decisions. Let it direct your focus. Let it remind you that you are not here to wander aimlessly. You are here to create, to build, to grow, and to give. Because once you know your purpose, you become dangerous to mediocrity. You stop settling. You stop second-guessing. You become a force that moves through life with clarity and conviction. And that's when the world begins to respond. Resources appear. People take notice. Doors open that once seemed locked. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You aligned your thoughts, words, and actions with a higher aim. So, let me ask you the same question Hill would ask if he were here today. What is your definite purpose? Can you define it in one clear sentence? If not, that's your starting point. Because once you find it, once you live it, once you embody it, the riches you seek will no longer be a fantasy. They'll be the natural result of a life lived with purpose. And that's not just motivational talk. That's principle. That's power. That's how greatness begins, not with luck, not with talent, but with clarity. Define your purpose, commit to it, and watch the world align with your vision. Section 4. Faith, the activator of riches. There's a force more powerful than money, more valuable than talent, and more essential than opportunity. It's called faith. In Your Right to Be Rich, Napoleon Hill explains that faith is the very fuel that activates your dreams and transforms invisible thoughts into visible results. Without faith, even the clearest vision withers. With it, you can defy odds, rise from nothing, and bring the impossible into reality. Faith, Hill tells us, is belief in the unseen. It is knowing that what you desire exists even when your eyes cannot yet see it. You see, the journey to wealth, real, lasting, purposeful wealth, doesn't begin with financial strategy. It begins with an inner knowing that you can and will create the life you envision. Faith is the power that bridges the gap between the idea and the outcome. It is the conviction that your thoughts are real forces, and if you hold them with emotion and persistence, they must manifest. And that is the game changer. Because when you believe something with your whole being, your behavior begins to align with that belief. You start taking bold action. You start attracting the right people. You move differently, and the universe responds. The tragic reality is that most people never tap into this force. Why? Because they're ruled by doubt. Doubt whispers, "You're not good enough." It says, "What if you fail?" It mocks your ambitions and magnifies your fears. But here's the truth. Doubt has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Failure simply teaches. But doubt? It paralyzes. It convinces you to never even begin. And that's why faith is so vital. Faith doesn't eliminate fear, but it gives you the courage to move through it. It says, even though I don't have all the answers, I'm still going forward. So, how do you build faith, especially when your circumstances seem to contradict your vision? Napoleon Hill gives us the answer: repetition and emotion. You must speak your belief into existence, daily, with conviction. That's where affirmations come in. Affirmations are not magic words. They are statements of truth, spoken in the present tense, that rewire your subconscious mind. Your subconscious doesn't care whether something is real yet. It accepts whatever you repeat with emotion as reality. That's why someone who constantly says, "I'm broke," or "I'll never make it," often ends up proving those words true. But someone who declares, "I am capable, I attract wealth, I am destined to succeed," begins to create a mental environment where success feels natural. Let's look at a real-world example of faith in action: Oprah Winfrey. Before she became one of the most influential women in the world, Oprah grew up in poverty, facing unimaginable obstacles: abuse, racism, rejection. But even in the darkest moments, she believed she was destined for more. She would speak it out loud. She would hold on to a vision of herself doing something meaningful, something that mattered. When she got her first job in broadcasting and was told she didn't belong, she didn't listen. Why? Because her faith in her purpose was louder than the voices of doubt around her. Oprah once said, "You become what you believe, not what you wish for." That's Napoleon Hill's principle of faith in action. She didn't wait for someone to give her permission. She believed first, and then she became. That's what faith does. It gives you the power to show up fully, even when no one else sees the vision you carry. It keeps you moving when the results aren't instant. It reminds you that your dream is already real. It just hasn't arrived in the physical world yet. Now, let's bring this home. How do you activate this kind of faith in your own life? Start by creating 5 affirmations that reinforce your belief in your right to be rich. Make them personal. Make them emotional. Say them out loud every day for at least 1 week. For example, I am worthy of wealth and abundance. Every day, I attract the right people and opportunities into my life. I believe in my ability to create success from within. Wealth flows to me because I add massive value to the world. I am becoming the person who lives my dream life, one step at a time. Don't just recite them. Feel them. Say them like you mean them. Imagine the life you're affirming as already real. Picture the home, the business, the freedom, the joy. Let it stir something inside you. That emotional connection is what turns words into belief, and belief into reality. Faith isn't just about what you say, it's also about what you do. As you repeat these affirmations, take action that supports your belief. Apply for that opportunity. Launch that idea. Save that money. Learn that skill. Faith without action is just daydreaming. But faith with action? That's where miracles happen. And remember, faith is not a one-time decision. It's a practice. Some days, you'll feel strong. Other days, doubt will creep in. That's normal. The key is to return to your faith. When you feel discouraged, repeat your affirmations louder. When you feel lost, revisit your vision. When fear shows up, remind yourself that you are not alone. Because faith connects you to a higher intelligence, a force greater than yourself that wants you to succeed. Napoleon Hill called faith the head chemist of the mind. It is the ingredient that changes everything. When you combine faith with a definite purpose and reinforce it with persistence, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger, more focused, more certain. And that certainty is what creates results. So let me ask you, what do you believe about your potential? Do you believe you're capable of building real wealth? Do you believe you have something valuable to offer the world? Do you believe that your dream life is possible? Because if your beliefs are weak, your actions will be weak. But if your belief is strong, no setback can hold you back for long. Make this your mission for the next 7 days. Write your 5 affirmations. Say them every morning. Say them with emotion. Say them until they don't just feel like statements. They feel like truth. Watch how your mindset shifts. Watch how you walk with more confidence. Watch how new ideas, people, and breakthroughs begin to show up in your life. That's not a coincidence. That's the power of faith at work. Faith is the activator of riches. It is the unseen force behind every visible success. Build it, nurture it, protect it, and your vision will take root. Because when you believe in yourself and in your right to be rich, you don't just hope for prosperity. You create it. One thought, one word, one step of faith at a time. Section 5. The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess, and within it lies a mysterious yet astonishingly potent force, your subconscious mind. In Your Right to Be Rich, Napoleon Hill explains that the subconscious is not just a passive storage system for thoughts and memories. It is the gateway to creative intelligence, the bridge between the conscious mind and infinite intelligence. It is the mechanism through which thoughts, beliefs, and desires are translated into physical reality. Most people underestimate this hidden power, living day by day under the influence of unconscious programming. But when you understand how to work with your subconscious instead of being ruled by it, your life can transform in ways you never imagined. The subconscious never sleeps. It is always absorbing, processing, and influencing your behaviors, decisions, and perceptions. Unlike the conscious mind, it doesn't evaluate or filter information. It simply accepts what it receives repeatedly, especially when charged with emotion. This is why the thoughts and words you entertain daily matter more than you think. When you constantly feed your subconscious mind with negative self-talk, fear, or scarcity beliefs, it takes those messages as commands. It assumes that's the reality you want to live in and sets out to make it true. The opposite is also true. If you consistently plant thoughts of abundance, confidence, and purpose, your subconscious will begin to align your actions and perceptions with those beliefs. This principle isn't mystical, it's psychological. Think about it. Have you ever bought a new car and suddenly you start seeing that same car everywhere? That's not coincidence. Your mind has been programmed to notice it. That's your subconscious filtering the world through your dominant thoughts. Now imagine applying that same filter to wealth, opportunity, and success. If you constantly remind your subconscious of your goals and affirm your worthiness, you start noticing doors that were always there but previously invisible to you. Napoleon Hill emphasizes the practice of autosuggestion. the deliberate repetition of statements and mental images to influence the subconscious mind. Autosuggestion is more than just positive thinking. It is intentional mental conditioning. Just as an athlete trains their body, you must train your mind. This means feeding your subconscious with your definite major purpose, your goals, your beliefs, over and over until they become part of your identity. You do this through daily affirmations, visualization, and repetition with emotion. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Elite athletes understand the power of the subconscious mind better than most. Before a big match or competition, they don't just physically train, they mentally rehearse success. They visualize themselves making the winning shot, crossing the finish line, or delivering a flawless performance. This isn't fantasy, it's preparation. Sports psychologists have found that mental rehearsal activates the same neural pathways as physical practice. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined, so when an athlete repeatedly visualizes success, they are essentially pre-programming their subconscious mind to expect and execute that success. The same principle applies to wealth. If you constantly visualize yourself living your goals, feeling the emotion of financial freedom, walking through the business you built, seeing the impact you're making, your subconscious begins to accept that as your destiny. And once it accepts it, it works day and night to help you bring that vision to life. You start making bolder decisions, noticing hidden opportunities, and aligning with people who share your frequency. You are no longer just reacting to life. You are designing it from the inside out. But here's the warning: your subconscious mind is always listening. It doesn't wait for you to give it official instructions. It absorbs whatever is repeated often enough, especially if it's accompanied by strong feelings. So if you constantly say, "I'm not good with money," or "I'll never get ahead," guess what message is being programmed into your subconscious? And once it's locked in, it starts to control your actions. You might unconsciously sabotage opportunities, avoid risks, or reject abundance because it doesn't match the script running beneath the surface. This is why self-awareness is crucial. You must become conscious of the messages you're feeding your subconscious, both through your words and through your environment. What kind of music are you listening to? What are the dominant themes in the shows and content you consume? Who are you surrounding yourself with? All of these inputs are feeding your subconscious. If you want to change your life, you must change what you're allowing into your mental space. Choose inputs that reinforce your goals, your faith, and your power, not your limitations. And it's not just about blocking negativity. It's about flooding your subconscious with the positive. Start your mornings with affirmations that declare your wealth, your purpose, your power. Speak as if your goals are already achieved. Visualize your dream life with vivid detail. Read books that expand your thinking. Watch content that uplifts you. Surround yourself with voices that believe in possibility. The more you do this, the more your subconscious begins to shift. And once your subconscious shifts, your habits shift, your choices shift, your life shifts. The subconscious mind also thrives on consistency. You can't affirm your worthiness once and expect transformation. Just like a seed, your beliefs must be nurtured daily. Think of autosuggestion as watering the garden of your mind. Every day that you repeat your goals, visualize your future, and align your words with your desires, you're strengthening the roots. Eventually, those roots will break through the surface in the form of tangible results. Money in your account, freedom in your schedule, purpose in your work. Let me ask you, what are you currently programming into your subconscious mind without even realizing it? Are your daily thoughts helping or harming your future? Are your words building belief or reinforcing limitation? Are you surrounding yourself with images and sounds of success or drowning in subtle negativity? These are questions worth asking because your subconscious doesn't forget. It stores everything, and what you store repeatedly becomes your experience. You were not born to live in lack. You were not meant to simply survive. You were designed with power, potential, and the ability to create. But it all starts within. As Napoleon Hill says, riches begin in the form of a thought, and it is through the subconscious mind that those thoughts take form. If you want wealth, joy, freedom, it's not out there waiting for you. It's in here, waiting to be activated by your belief, your repetition, and your intention. So, starting today, take control of your inner dialogue. Write out your goals. Speak them every day. Visualize your success until it feels real. Remove the noise of fear and fill your mind with images of possibility. Train your subconscious to expect greatness, not as a fantasy, but as your standard. Because once your subconscious mind accepts wealth as your new normal, life will rise to meet that expectation. And that, my friend, is when you truly begin to live rich, from the inside out. Section 6. Desire, the starting point of all riches. Every great success story begins with a burning desire, not a vague wish, not a fleeting hope, but a deep, consuming longing that refuses to be ignored. In Your Right to Be Rich, Napoleon Hill reveals that desire is not only the first step toward wealth, it is the foundation of all achievement. Nothing happens until desire sets the process in motion. The moment you decide that you must become rich, not out of greed, but from a sense of purpose, dignity, and potential, that's when your journey truly begins. Wealth does not respond to lukewarm intentions. It yields only to those who pursue it with intensity, clarity, and unwavering commitment. Desire is more than wanting something. It's the difference between saying, "It would be nice to have money," and declaring, "I will become financially free, no matter what it takes." Wishes are passive. Desire is active. Wishes look at circumstances. Desire shapes them. When you truly desire something, you begin to think, feel, and act in harmony with your goal. You rearrange your life around that objective. You no longer tolerate mediocrity or distraction. You wake up early, stay up late, learn faster, and bounce back harder. Because your desire gives you fuel. It becomes the internal fire that keeps burning even when everything around you seems cold. Desire ignites imagination, fuels perseverance, and produces results. Hill observed that the most successful people he studied weren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented, but they had a definite desire and were emotionally committed to achieving it. They visualized their outcomes with vivid clarity. They made detailed plans and acted on them relentlessly. They didn't let setbacks, rejections, or failures deter them because their desire was stronger than their doubt. This kind of burning desire becomes a magnet for opportunity. It sharpens your focus, increases your energy, and attracts people, ideas, and resources into your life that align with your purpose. But how do you create this burning desire? You start by getting clear about what you really want. Not what sounds good, not what society says you should want, but what your heart craves deeply. This clarity is powerful. Hill challenges us to write down our specific financial goal, the exact amount of money we want, by when, and what we're willing to give in return. It's not enough to say, "I want to be rich." You must say, "I will earn $100,000 a year, doing meaningful work by December 31st. and I will devote my time, energy, and creativity to achieve it. That statement must be written, spoken aloud, and most importantly, felt with emotion. Because it's the emotional commitment that gives it power. Take the story of Howard Schultz, the visionary behind Starbucks. He didn't just have a casual interest in coffee. He had a burning desire to create a new coffee culture in America, one that replicated the warmth, community, and experience he discovered in Italian coffee bars. When he first pitched his idea, he was met with rejection. Investors didn't see the vision, but he didn't quit. He kept refining the pitch, building connections, and knocking on doors until he raised the capital to open his first store. Even when the early years were tough, he kept going. His desire was greater than the obstacles. He didn't just want to sell coffee. He wanted to change how people experienced it. That level of desire turned a simple idea into a global empire. Now imagine if Schultz had stopped the first time someone said no. Imagine if he thought, well, maybe I'll try something else. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Starbucks wouldn't exist. Millions of lives, including employees, customers, and coffee farmers, would have been different. That's the power of one person's burning desire. And you have that same power within you. You may not see all the steps right now. You may not have all the resources. But if your desire is strong enough, you will find a way. That desire will push you to learn, to grow, to ask, to build, and to endure. Here's the practical application. Write your desire down. Be specific. Make it emotional. Don't just list an amount. Connect it to why that amount matters. Will it help you support your family? Build a business? Travel the world? Fund a school? Buy your dream home? Pay off debt? Give your children the life you never had? Whatever your why is, make it real. Feel it. Imagine it. Describe it in detail. Then, read it aloud every single morning. This may feel awkward at first, but repetition is key. You're not just saying words, you're programming your subconscious mind to believe them. You're building belief through emotional repetition, and belief is the bridge between desire and manifestation. Desire also brings resilience. When you truly want something, setbacks don't stop you. They sharpen you. Every failure becomes feedback. Every rejection becomes redirection. You stop asking, "Is this possible?" and start declaring, "I will find a way." That mental shift changes everything. You stop negotiating with your dreams and start demanding results from yourself. Desire gives you staying power when others quit. It helps you show up every day, even when you don't feel like it. It helps you say no to distractions and yes to discipline. You begin to move with intention instead of reacting to life. You take control. But here's what's important. Desire must evolve into definite action. It's not enough to feel the fire. You must feed it. Desire is the spark, but consistent action is the fuel. You need a plan. You need habits that align with your goal. You need accountability. You need to measure your progress, and you need to adjust when necessary. You must combine desire with faith, persistence, and planning, because desire alone without direction leads to frustration, but desire with discipline leads to freedom. Ask yourself, what do you truly desire? If money wasn't an issue, what would your life look like? Who would you become? What impact would you make? Get honest. Get detailed. Write it down. Read it aloud daily. Visualize it. Feel it. Talk about it with trusted people who uplift you. Immerse your mind in your vision until it becomes so real that you can't not pursue it. Let that vision pull you out of bed. Let it silence the doubts. Let it give you strength when things get hard, because they will get hard. But if your desire is strong enough, You will keep going. Desire is the starting point, but it is also the foundation. Every brick of your future wealth is laid on the strength of your desire. Without it, your goals are castles in the air. With it, they become castles on the ground. You were born with the right to be rich, not just in money, but in purpose, in freedom, in fulfillment. But to claim that right, you must want it with everything in you. You must stop tolerating mediocrity. You must refuse to be average. You must want your dream so badly that you're willing to fight for it, work for it, grow for it, and wait for it. So here is your challenge. Describe in vivid detail what you desire and why. Write it in the present tense as if it's already yours. Feel it as you write. Read it aloud every morning with passion. Let it become your declaration, your motivation, your daily reminder that you are on a mission. And then, act like it. Let that desire fuel your habits, shape your choices, and guide your journey. Because once your desire becomes a burning obsession, nothing can stand in your way. That is the real beginning of riches. And it begins with you. Section 7. The Power of a Wealth Consciousness. Imagine trying to pour water into a cup that's already full of mud. That's what it's like trying to attract wealth when your mind is still filled with scarcity, self-doubt, and fear. In Napoleon Hill's timeless teachings, the concept of a wealth consciousness is one of the most vital, yet often overlooked principles. It goes beyond merely earning or saving money. It's about transforming your internal identity, how you see yourself, what you believe about money, and what you expect from life. You must become wealthy in your consciousness before you manifest wealth in your reality. This is not wishful thinking. It's psychology, it's alignment, and it's power. Why does this matter so much? Because no matter how much money you earn, you will always behave in a way that matches your internal thermostat. If your self-image is set at survival, then even if you stumble upon a fortune, you'll find a way to sabotage it or lose it. That's why lottery winners often end up bankrupt. It's why some people make millions and end up with nothing, while others earn modestly but build real wealth over time. It's the difference between someone who sees themselves as a rich person in the making and someone who just hopes to get lucky. Your external world can only rise to the level of your internal identity. Cultivating a wealth consciousness starts with how you think and what you repeatedly do. Hill emphasizes that wealth is not about chasing money. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts, manages, multiplies, and shares money. This begins with self-image. Start seeing yourself as someone who is worthy of riches, capable of handling great responsibility, and destined to make a positive impact with wealth. Stop thinking like a victim or a struggler. Begin thinking like a creator. One powerful way to build this new self-image is to adopt wealth habits that align with prosperity. First, generosity. People with a wealth consciousness are not afraid to give because they know there's more where that came from. They see money as abundant, not limited. Second, gratitude. Wealthy thinkers constantly give thanks for what they have, which conditions their brain to notice opportunities rather than lack. Third, wise investing, not just financially, but also investing in knowledge, relationships, and long-term growth. These habits reinforce the idea that you are already living in abundance. A great real-world example of this principle in action is the story of Damon John, founder of FUBU and one of the investors on Shark Tank. Before he ever became a multimillionaire, he started acting like one. Not in a showy, superficial way, but in his habits, his discipline, and his vision. He would write down his goals. He would dress the part. He would manage his small money like it was a fortune. He thought strategically and carried himself with purpose. He didn't wait for the millions to start showing up before he changed his mindset. He changed his mindset first, and the millions followed. That's the secret most people miss. You don't get wealthy and then become a wealth-conscious person. You become wealth-conscious, and then wealth shows up. Think of your consciousness as a magnet. When it's tuned to scarcity, you repel prosperity. When it's tuned to abundance, you draw it in. That tuning comes from what you consistently focus on, believe, and embody. Now let's get practical. To start developing a wealth consciousness, create a morning and evening ritual of mental conditioning. Begin each day by declaring who you are becoming. I am a responsible, generous, and powerful steward of wealth. Visualize yourself living in alignment with abundance. See yourself making wise decisions, blessing others with your resources, and growing your impact. At night, review your day through the lens of wealth consciousness. Did you act like a creator or a reactor? Did you invest time and energy, or did you waste it? This honest self-inventory helps reinforce the right identity. Another key practice is surrounding yourself with wealth-minded people, whether through books, videos, mentors, or actual social circles. The more you immerse yourself in the thinking patterns of the successful, the more your own thinking will elevate. You begin to adopt their language, their perspective, and their resilience. Remember, the mind works through association. Choose your mental company wisely. Also, monitor your financial language. Wealth-conscious people speak in terms of opportunity, growth, and impact. Poor-conscious people speak in terms of fear, cost, and lack. Language matters. It's the programming tool of your subconscious mind. Replace "I can't afford it" with "How can I create the resources to make it happen?" Replace "I'm broke" with "I'm building wealth." These shifts may feel small, but over time, they rewire your reality. Here's your challenge. Be brutally honest with yourself. Do you think like a wealthy person or a poor person? Examine your thoughts when you get a bill, when someone talks about success, or when you dream about your future. Are you filled with optimism or resistance? Do you see wealth as a tool for good or a sign of corruption? Your answers reveal what your subconscious is really tuned to. If your inner narrative has been one of limitation, don't worry. That can change, starting today. Wealth consciousness is built over time with repetition, intention, and belief. It's not a switch, it's a conditioning process. And every time you think a wealthy thought, make a wise decision, or take a bold action, you're building a new identity. In the end, Napoleon Hill's message is clear. Wealth is not just something you do, it's something you become. So the real journey isn't toward a number in your bank account, it's toward becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts and sustains that number. The moment you upgrade your self-image, the rest of your life begins to reflect it. You have a right to be rich, but more importantly, you have a responsibility to become the kind of person who handles that wealth well. So start thinking like one. Start speaking like one. Start acting like one. And watch as the world rearranges itself to match your new reality. Section 8. Overcoming Fear. The greatest wealth blocker. Fear is the silent thief of dreams. It's the quiet voice that whispers, "You're not good enough," "You'll fail," or "It's too risky." Of all the enemies of success that Napoleon Hill identifies in his timeless work, none is as destructive, persistent, or subtle as fear, particularly the fear of poverty. This fear doesn't just stop you from achieving wealth, it stops you from even trying. It freezes you in place while opportunity walks right past. Overcoming fear is not just an option. It's a necessity if you want to create lasting, meaningful riches in your life. Why does fear matter so much? Because fear paralyzes action, and without action, success is impossible. You can have the best ideas, the most detailed plans, and the strongest desires, but if fear keeps your hands in your pockets and your feet glued to the floor, nothing will change. The greatest strategies in the world are powerless without movement. Action is the bridge between dreams and reality, and fear is the wall that stands in the way. Every time you let fear win, you give away your power. But every time you act in spite of fear, you take that power back. Hill teaches that fear, especially the fear of poverty, is deeply rooted in the subconscious mind. It often comes from childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, or painful memories. Perhaps you grew up watching your parents struggle to pay the bills, or maybe you've experienced financial failure yourself. Those experiences leave an imprint. But here's the truth. Fear is not fact. Fear is a story we tell ourselves, one that can be rewritten. And the first step in overcoming fear is shining a light on it. You must identify what you're afraid of and then confront it with logic, truth, and boldness. Let's make this practical. Start by writing down your top financial fear. Is it the fear of losing everything? Of being judged if you fail? Of not knowing enough? Of never having enough? Whatever it is, name it. Putting fear into words strips it of its mystery. Then, analyze it logically. Ask yourself, has this fear ever actually come true? If it did, what would I do? Could I survive it? Often you'll find that the fear is not nearly as powerful when exposed to the light of reason. Next, reframe that fear into a powerful truth. For example, if your fear is, "I'll never have enough money," reframe it as, "I'm learning to manage and multiply the money I have, and abundance is on the way." If your fear is, "I'll fail and lose everything," reframe it as, "Every failure is a step forward. I have the resilience to rise again." These reframes aren't delusions, they're decisions. You're choosing to believe something empowering instead of something paralyzing. That's a sign of strength, not denial. The truth is, even the most successful people feel fear. What sets them apart is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let it dictate their actions. Consider the story of a single mother named Tasha, who had every reason to stay stuck. She had no savings, a mountain of bills, and 2 kids to feed. But she also had a dream: to start a home-based bakery. Terrified of failure and judgment, she almost talked herself out of it. But then she realized that fear was already keeping her in a kind of poverty. She had nothing to lose. So, trembling, she launched her business from her tiny kitchen. She burned her first few cakes. She had quiet days with no orders. But she kept showing up. Over time, her confidence grew. Her business expanded. And today, she owns a thriving dessert company that ships nationwide. Tasha didn't wait for fear to disappear. She acted anyway, and that made all the difference. That's the secret. Fear loses its grip the moment you stop negotiating with it. Action dissolves fear. Even the smallest step, making a call, creating a plan, reading a book, applying for a license, builds courage and momentum. When you act, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than what scares you. That proof builds self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of all success. Another powerful strategy is to use visualization to neutralize fear. See yourself succeeding. Feel what it would be like to overcome that obstacle, to stand on the other side of your fear with pride. Your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined event and a real one. By rehearsing success mentally, you reduce the emotional charge of fear and program yourself for bold action. This is how athletes prepare for gold, how performers handle stage fright, and how entrepreneurs leap into the unknown. Now here's your challenge. Write down your 3 greatest money fears. Be brutally honest. Then, for each fear, write a powerful truth that replaces it. Read those truths aloud every day, especially when fear shows up. Over time, your mind will begin to accept the new narrative. You'll start thinking, speaking, and acting from power instead of panic. But don't stop there. Surround yourself with courageous voices. Listen to stories of those who have walked through fear and triumphed. Read biographies, watch interviews, join mastermind groups. Courage is contagious. When you immerse yourself in the energy of action takers, you naturally start to take more action yourself. Also, track your progress. Keep a courage journal, where you write down every time you acted in spite of fear. No matter how small the act, record it. Over time, this record will become proof that you are not the same person you were yesterday. It will be a reminder that you are growing, evolving, and becoming unstoppable. Napoleon Hill reminds us that fear is a state of mind, and like any state of mind, it can be changed. You are not bound by your past. You are not a prisoner of your upbringing. You are not doomed by your doubts. You are a creator. And creators move forward, even with knees shaking and heart pounding. You do not need to be fearless to become wealthy. You simply need to be willing. So, what are you afraid of? And more importantly, are you ready to rise anyway? The future doesn't belong to those who wait for confidence. It belongs to those who take bold steps despite fear. The moment you move forward with courage, you step into a new identity. You become the kind of person who does hard things, who grows through discomfort, and who creates success on their own terms. Fear will knock. It always does. But now, you know how to answer. With clarity, with logic, with boldness, with action, and ultimately, with freedom. The wealth you seek is on the other side of the fear you're willing to face. So, take a deep breath and go get it. Section 9. The role of creative vision and imagination. Wealth begins in the mind. Before it appears in a bank account, a business, or a balance sheet, it is first born in thought. Napoleon Hill calls imagination the workshop of the mind, the invisible realm where ideas are shaped, sculpted, and eventually brought to life. In truth, every skyscraper, every invention, every empire, every fortune ever created started in someone's imagination. Imagination is not just for artists or dreamers. It is the very engine of progress, innovation, and personal wealth. If you want to live a life beyond limitation, your imagination is where you must begin. Creative vision matters because it is the blueprint for everything you will ever build. Without it, you are merely reacting to life instead of designing it. Most people live by default, not by design. They go through their days thinking about what is instead of what could be. But those who succeed, those who create wealth and meaning, live from their vision, not their memory. They train their minds to see what doesn't yet exist, and to believe in what they are creating, even when there's no physical evidence. They understand that reality follows imagination, not the other way around. When Hill emphasizes imagination, he's not talking about idle daydreaming. He's referring to deliberate, purposeful, creative vision. It's the ability to use your mind to design a future so compelling, so rich in detail and emotion, that you are magnetized toward it. This kind of imagination isn't fluffy. It's focused. It becomes a force that guides your decisions, fuels your actions, and shapes your destiny. It's a tool of the wealthy, a secret weapon for anyone ready to break free from the chains of the ordinary. Consider this. Every great business that ever existed was once just a thought. Apple, Tesla, Amazon, each began as a flicker of imagination in the mind of someone willing to dream beyond the limitations of the present moment. These creators weren't following a map. They were drawing one. They weren't copying reality. They were inventing it. And that power, the power to imagine and create, lives in you too. But it must be activated. It must be trained. And it must be trusted. One of the most powerful stories that captures this truth is the story of Walt Disney. Before he built his empire, before the world knew Mickey Mouse or Disneyland, Walt walked through an empty orange grove in California. Most people would have seen just trees and dirt. But Walt saw castles. He saw parades. He saw laughter, wonder, and magic. He imagined entire worlds coming to life, worlds no one else could see. And he believed in that vision so deeply that he dedicated his life to making it real. Today, millions of people visit the place that was once just a dream in one man's mind. That is the power of imagination. So, how do you cultivate this kind of creative power in your own life? It starts with a simple practice. Spend 15 minutes each day imagining your dream life in vivid detail. Close your eyes and go there. See the home you want to live in. Feel the clothes you'll wear, the conversations you'll have, the business you'll run. Smell the ocean air if your dream is a beachside villa. Hear the applause if your dream is to speak on stages. Don't just think about it. Experience it as if it's real. Because to your subconscious mind, it is. And once your subconscious begins to accept that vision, it will start guiding your behavior to make it real. This practice isn't just about feeling good, it rewires your brain. Neuroscience confirms that visualization activates the same neural networks as actual experience. It prepares your mind and body to recognize and respond to opportunities aligned with your vision. In other words, you begin to notice things you were blind to before. You take actions that feel inspired. You begin to attract people, resources, and ideas that match your inner world. That's not magic. It's focus. It's alignment. It's creative vision at work. But let's be clear. Imagination without action is fantasy. The goal isn't to live in your head. It's to use your imagination as fuel for real-world decisions. When you spend time each day visualizing your ideal life, you create emotional momentum. That momentum makes it easier to take bold steps, to stretch beyond your comfort zone, and to persist through setbacks. You become driven not by desperation, but by inspiration. That's a much more powerful force. Another key is to write your vision down. Create a vision script that describes your ideal life in the present tense. Read it aloud daily. Feel the words. Let them sink in. Over time, this script becomes a kind of mental GPS. It keeps you on course even when the road gets rough. It reminds you of who you're becoming and what you're building. It gives your imagination a structure and your ambition a direction. And don't worry if your dream feels too big. In fact, that's a sign you're on the right track. Big dreams stretch your belief system. They force you to grow. They demand that you become someone new. And that transformation is where the magic lies. You don't need to know how it will all happen. You just need to see it clearly and take the next bold step. The how will reveal itself in time. Now, here's a reflective question for you. If there were no limits, no fear, no failure, no lack, what would your dream life look like? Would you live in another country? Would you own a business, or fund a nonprofit, or travel the world? Would you write a book, build a school, create a new technology. Let yourself go there. Give yourself permission to dream like a child again, without the weight of limitation. Because that vision you see, it's not random, it's your soul calling. And imagination is how it speaks. The role of creative vision and imagination is not to escape reality, but to shape it. Your mind is not a storage space. It's a studio. And in that studio, you are the artist. Every day, you are painting your future with the brushstrokes of your thoughts, beliefs, and images. So don't just react to what is, create what will be. Don't just survive. Design. Remember, you are the architect of your destiny. And your imagination is your most valuable tool. Use it, trust it, train it, and let it guide you into a life of abundance, purpose, and freedom. Everything you desire begins as a thought, so dare to think big. Then act like your dream is already real, because one day it will be. Section 10. The Power of Action and Persistence. Success is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice backed by consistent action and relentless persistence. You can have the most vivid dreams, the clearest vision, and the most compelling plans, but if you never take action, they remain trapped in the realm of fantasy. Napoleon Hill reminds us that the universe does not reward wishful thinking. It rewards determined action. Ideas may inspire, but only action transforms. And when that action is repeated day after day, even in the face of resistance and rejection, it becomes the bridge between your desire and your destiny. The truth is, most people don't fail because their dreams are too big. They fail because their persistence is too small. They get excited at the start, take a few steps, face inevitable challenges, and then retreat. But success is reserved for those who keep moving forward, even when it's hard, even when they feel discouraged, even when they're tempted to quit. In every great success story, you will find a person who refused to give up. They didn't win because it was easy. They won because they kept showing up. Action is the great separator. Many people want success. Many dream of financial freedom. But only a few take daily, consistent steps to achieve it. Why? Because action requires courage. It demands effort. It exposes you to discomfort and risk. But it's also the only way forward. Wealth is not built in your comfort zone. It's built in the trenches through disciplined action over time. Hill teaches us that desire is the starting point, but it must be backed by action to become real. And not just any action, intelligent, focused, and persistent effort toward a clearly defined goal. Imagine what could happen if you committed to just one income-producing action every single day for the next 90 days. That's 90 intentional moves toward your financial dream. One phone call, one business idea, one investment decision, one pitch, one skill learned, one connection made. These small steps may seem insignificant in the moment, but compounded over time, they become a force of unstoppable momentum. This is how fortunes are built, not through bursts of effort, but through disciplined consistency. Persistence is the secret weapon of the wealthy. It is what separates those who almost made it from those who actually did. Think about the story of Colonel Harlan Sanders. He was a man in his 60s, traveling from town to town, trying to sell his fried chicken recipe to restaurants. Over 1,000 people told him, no. Think about that. 1,000 rejections. Most people would have quit after 10. But not Sanders. He believed in his product, and he was willing to endure rejection to bring it to life. Eventually, someone said yes. That yes led to the creation of Kentucky Fried Chicken, now a global brand worth billions. What if he had stopped at 999? This story teaches us something vital. Rejection is not the end. It's part of the process. Every no gets you closer to a yes if you keep going. Every failure teaches you something. Every setback strengthens you. The people who succeed financially are not the ones who avoid failure. They are the ones who outlast it. They understand that wealth is a reward for endurance. But persistence alone isn't enough. It must be paired with intelligent action. It's not about blindly pushing forward, doing the same thing and hoping for different results. It's about adapting, learning, and improving while you stay committed. It's about testing strategies, analyzing outcomes, and refining your approach. If something isn't working, pivot, but don't quit. Find another way. Ask better questions. Get feedback. Success is iterative. It's built on layers of action, feedback, and adjustment. So how do you make persistence practical? It starts with a plan. Create a 90-day plan with a clear financial goal. Whether that's launching a business, saving a specific amount, increasing your income, or learning a monetizable skill. Break it down into small daily actions that move you forward. Put them on your calendar. Track your progress. Celebrate your wins, however small. And when the motivation fades, and it will, rely on your discipline. Because discipline carries you through the valleys when motivation disappears. Action and persistence also require a deep emotional connection to your goal. You need to know why this matters to you. What will financial freedom give you? What are you fighting for? What pain are you leaving behind? When your why is strong, your how becomes easier. You'll be more willing to endure discomfort when you're anchored to a powerful vision. Hill emphasizes this emotional connection repeatedly because it fuels the persistence needed to cross the finish line. There's also a mental shift that needs to happen. You must begin to see yourself not just as someone who wants wealth, but as someone who creates it. Adopt the identity of an action taker, a finisher, a doer. Speak it, affirm it, and act from it. The more you show up as that version of yourself, the more naturally persistent you'll become. And the results will follow. Not because of luck, but because of who you've become through action. Today, you are faced with a choice. You can keep waiting for the perfect moment, or you can commit to one bold action right now. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be real. Make the call, launch the website, record the video, have the conversation, write the pitch, apply for the opportunity, invest in yourself. One step, one move, one act of courage. That's how you build momentum. And once you have momentum, everything changes. Let this be your challenge. Commit to one bold action today that moves you toward your financial goal. Just one. And then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Stack those actions until they become your new normal. Because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not filled with wishes. It is filled with work. And if you're willing to do the work, the reward will come. The power of action and persistence is not just in achieving goals. It's in who you become through the process. You become someone who follows through, someone who endures, someone who doesn't back down in the face of adversity. That identity will serve you for life, in every area. So don't just dream, move. Don't just plan, act. Don't just hope, persist. Because the life you want is waiting. Not for a better idea, but for a braver you. Wealth favors the bold. Success crowns the persistent. Take action today, and never stop. Section 11. The Mastermind Principle. Building wealth with others. In the journey to wealth, one of the most profound yet often underestimated principles is the power of association, what Napoleon Hill calls the mastermind principle. It is the idea that when two or more people come together in harmony with a definite purpose, their combined energy, intellect, and resources create a force far greater than what they could accomplish alone. This is not just about networking or casual friendships. A mastermind is an intentional alliance. It is a sacred bond between minds focused on a unified mission of growth, prosperity, and transformation. And the truth is, no great fortune was ever built in isolation. Throughout history, every successful empire, invention, movement, or fortune can trace its roots back to a mastermind, people who brought their unique strengths into a collective effort. Napoleon Hill himself was deeply influenced by his association with some of the greatest minds of his time, including Thomas Edison and Henry Ford. These men didn't just share ideas, they challenged one another, elevated each other's thinking, and supported one another through failure and breakthrough. That is the essence of a mastermind group. It multiplies your mental power, expands your imagination, and keeps you accountable to your highest standards. We often hear the phrase, "Your network is your net worth." And while it's catchy, it barely scratches the surface of what Hill meant. A true mastermind goes beyond networking. It is about surrounding yourself with individuals who are committed to excellence, who think abundantly, who are not threatened by your success but are inspired by it, and who push you beyond your limits because they see your potential even when you don't. These are people who not only celebrate your wins, but also walk with you through the valleys, offering wisdom, clarity, and belief when yours runs dry. When you're surrounded by such people, magic happens. Ideas flow. Creativity multiplies. Solutions appear. You begin to think in new dimensions, see opportunities you couldn't see before, and gain the courage to act because you're no longer operating in isolation. Hill emphasizes that a mastermind unlocks a third mind, a higher intelligence that emerges when multiple minds are connected in harmony. This invisible but very real energy becomes a guiding force, often leading to breakthroughs you could never orchestrate on your own. The practical application is simple but powerful. Gather a group of 2 to 5 like-minded individuals who are serious about personal growth and financial prosperity. These can be entrepreneurs, investors, creatives, spiritual leaders, or professionals. But the key is alignment. You must all be committed to growth, open to feedback, and willing to share ideas without ego or competition. Meet regularly, weekly or bi-weekly, and use your time to discuss challenges, share wins, brainstorm strategies, hold each other accountable, and offer support. This isn't a social gathering, it's a growth alliance. The strength of a mastermind comes not just from the brilliance of its members, but from the trust and transparency they build. When you feel safe to be vulnerable, to admit what's not working, and to ask for help, that's when the real transformation begins. It's also where accountability thrives. Knowing that others are watching your progress, expecting you to follow through, cheering you on while also calling you out. That's the kind of structure that keeps you consistent. And consistency, as we've seen, is the foundation of wealth. Imagine for a moment how your life would change if you had a small circle of people who were relentlessly focused on becoming wealthy in every sense, financially, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Imagine if you regularly discussed your income goals, investment strategies, business ideas, habits, and spiritual alignment. Imagine if your inner circle didn't gossip or complain, but shared insights, wisdom, and solutions. That's not a dream. It's a mastermind, and you have the power to create it. One of the greatest examples of this was the original mastermind alliance that Hill studied, between Edison, Ford, Harvey Firestone, and other great industrialists. These men would gather at retreats, in boardrooms, and even during casual drives to discuss the future. They didn't just talk about business. They envisioned possibilities, shared their latest discoveries, and supported each other's visions. This collaboration didn't just lead to personal wealth. It shaped industries, advanced technology, and influenced the world. That is the power of collective genius. But here's what's equally important. The mastermind principle also works at a spiritual level. When two or more people come together in harmony, they attract divine intelligence. Hill believed that the mastermind connects you to infinite intelligence, a higher consciousness that guides, inspires, and empowers. That's why it's essential to choose members who not only understand money, but also value integrity, purpose, and spiritual alignment. The energy of the group must be pure. A toxic, competitive, or ego-driven member can poison the entire dynamic. This is why intentionality is everything. Don't wait for the perfect group to find you. Create it. Start with one person who inspires you, who has vision, and who is committed to growth. Then add another, and another. Build slowly. Value depth over size. Even two minds in harmony can create massive momentum, and as you grow together, you'll find that opportunities, insights, and breakthroughs begin to multiply. Doors open. Resources appear. Confidence builds. Why? Because you're no longer alone. There's also something beautiful about how a mastermind group influences your identity. When you surround yourself with people who think bigger, act bolder, and live with purpose, it shifts your standard. You begin to adopt their habits, mirror their mindset, and match their energy. And this isn't manipulation. It's transformation. You rise because the group demands it. You stay focused because the group reminds you of your purpose. You act because the group inspires courage. That's the real wealth of the mastermind. Not just money, but mindset. So ask yourself, who in your life challenges you to grow financially, mentally, and spiritually? Who calls out the best in you? Who stretches your thinking, sharpens your decisions, and lifts your vision? If you don't yet have those people, it's time to find them, or become that person so you can attract them. Because if you're serious about building wealth that lasts, you cannot do it alone. There is immense power in shared purpose. A mastermind group becomes a lifeline, a place where you're seen, heard, and strengthened. It's your incubator for ideas, your boardroom for strategy, your sanctuary for renewal. Don't underestimate it. Some of your greatest financial breakthroughs will come not in solitude, but in sacred community. Now is the time to act. Reach out, connect, invite, building commit. Whether it's over coffee, Zoom calls, or monthly retreats, the format doesn't matter. The energy does. Align your group with purpose, vision, and mutual growth. This is how you multiply wealth, not alone, but together. Because while the journey begins with one decision, true prosperity is achieved through shared vision and united action. Your mastermind is waiting, and so is your next level. Conclusion. We've reached the end of this powerful journey through Napoleon Hill's timeless message, and one truth rings louder than all the rest. Wealth is your birthright. It is not reserved for a chosen few. It is not a distant dream. It is a reality waiting for you to claim it. But it doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your mind. Everything you need to become rich in every area of life is already within you. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your burning desire, your unwavering faith, your vivid imagination, your relentless persistence, and your bold action. These are the tools that shape your destiny. They are the blueprint of abundance. If this message lit a fire inside you, Don't let it die out. Like this video, comment your favorite lesson below, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and hit that subscribe button for more life-changing wisdom. Your journey to wealth begins now, and this is just the beginning.